Hey everyone, it's Kalia, KK, and Jasmine presenting to you the Fabaceae family, also known as the Pea family. The awesome illustrations have been done by Kalia. Enjoy!
The pea family is the third largest plant family behind orchids and asters. The family is thus divided into the six subfamilies, and bear with me here: Cercidoideae, Deuterioideae, Duparketoideae, Dialioideae, Sessalpinoideae, and Faboideae or Papilionoideae. We will focus on the three that are the most prominent in the West: Sessalpinoideae, Faboideae, and the former Mimosoideae grouping. In fact, the pea family used to just be divided into these three subfamilies, but along with the division of the other four subfamilies, Mimosoideae has been absorbed into the Sessalpinoideae subfamily. The lupines and milkvetches of the Faboideae subfamily represent a large portion of the pea family's presence in Utah. Some specific species include woolly lockweed, as well as silvery lupine, Utah milkvetch, and mountain golden banner, which are illustrated here from left to right in that order.
Plants within the pea family have similar characteristics, including seed pod fruits known as legumes, superior ovaries, 5 petals, and most have compound leaves and rhizobia on roots with a few exceptions. Some even have joint thickening called pulvinus that opens the leaflets during the day and closes them at night. One plant in particular, known as the shy or sensitive plant, closes its leaflets in response to touch as a defense mechanism. Now on to differences. The Mimosoideae have compound bipinnate leaves with longer clusters of small radially symmetrical flowers. Sometimes they have a lot of showy stamens that are colorful and long that make the flowers look like puffballs. Next is the Caesalpinoideae that have compound and sometimes bipinnate leaves as well, with larger bilateral flowers, the lateral petals being bigger for pollinating reasons that we'll talk about later. Next is the Faboideae that has the largest range of flowers and of leaf types. For leaf types, there is parapinnate and parapinnate, palmately compound, unifoliate, or trifoliate leaves. The flowers are on a raceme or a connecting stem that are colorful and butterfly-shaped. The top of the flower has a petal called the banner, 2 side petals called the wings, and 2 bottom petals that are fused called the keed. The keed holds the pistil and the stamens.
Members of the pea family found in Utah have adapted to a multitude of habitats and thus can be found all across the state. The general distribution of Utah milkvetch can be seen in orange. The Utah milkvetch thrives in desert, rocky, or disturbed habitats, but can also be found in sand, grasslands, and forests. The general distribution of mountain golden banner is indicated in peach. It is found primarily in riparian or forest habitats, but also shows up in meadows or disturbed environments. Woolly lockweed or woolly milkvetch's distribution can be seen in dark green. This plant concentrates in grasslands, disturbed, sand, and desert habitats, but can be found in forest, rocky, or riparian habitats. The general distribution of silvery lupine is indicated in the lightest green. This plant thrives in forests, deserts, and meadows. It also grows in riparian, disturbed, rocky, grassland, and brush habitats.
Now to talk about the ecology of the Fabaceae family. The Fabaceae family is found worldwide. The only places they aren't found is in the high Arctic and Antarctica. And the reason they aren't found there is just because it is too cold for them to possibly even try to grow there. Along with growing worldwide, they also have a symbiotic relationship with rhizobia bacteria. Now, rhizobia bacteria put nitrogen in the soil and help plants grow. How this happens is the bacteria enter the root hairs and cause nodules on the roots of the plant to grow. So those are the little circles you can see in the illustration right there. And when inside these nodules, they turn atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. And I know that sounds kind of confusing because I just said that they create nitrogen. Ammonia is actually a type of nitrogen that plants can more readily use than atmospheric nitrogen. And if they have excess ammonia, they put it into the soil, which is why they are often used as natural fertilizers in between uh, farmers growing crops.
The beautiful and unique flowers of the pea family attract all sorts of pollinators, including bumble and carpenter bees, birds, flies, butterflies, and more. Some petals even have markings called nectar guides that help direct the pollinators. Within Caesalpinoideae, there are two lateral petals or wings that help direct the pollinators to the center of the flower. Within Faboideae, there are two bottom petals or the keel that form the landing platform for the pollinators. These plants are dioecious, so they're capable of self-pollination, like peanuts, but cross-pollination is the best option. Within this family, there are four types of pollination tactics. There's explosive, valvular, piston, and brush. Explosive is where the staminal column is held under pressure in the keel, so when it's pressed on by a pollinator, the staminal column is released, it hits the standard, or the top petal, and drops all of the pollen. This is a one-time pollination. Valvular is where the keel acts as a door, exposing the staminal column when pressure is put on by the pollinator. It can be opened and closed numerous times. The piston is when the keel is moved, the anthers and stigma stay stationary, and the pollen is released from the keel tip. Brush is when the style protrudes farther than the stamens and develops trichomes, or little hairs, that act as a brush. With pressure, the pistil protrudes from the keel. The stigma comes in contact first with the outside pollen from the pollinator, and then the style brushes its pollen onto them. Then the style returns into the keel.
The Fabaceae family has a long history of being used by humans. So let's talk about some of the traditional and ethnobotanical uses of this plant family. So first we have forage legumes, such as clover, alfalfa, and vetch. These are often used as grazing and fodder for livestock. And don't worry if you don't know what fodder is. I didn't know what it was either before creating this slideshow. It basically is just another word for food for livestock. But rather than being the actual plant that they graze on, it's a dried version of the plant. So instead of regular alfalfa, it's dried alfalfa. That's what would be considered fodder. And then we have grain legumes. These are what probably pop into your mind when someone says legumes. These are things such as soybeans, peas, chickpeas, lentils, and faba beans, along with many, many others. These are used for human and animal consumption. And then we have bloom legumes, such as lupines and wisteria. These are mostly used for aesthetic purposes as flowering plants for gardens. And then we have products that are created by the Fabaceae family. So we have Arabic gum, which is used in food, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals, and paint as a thickener and emulsifier. And it also is a gum, so you can chew on it. And this is created by Senegalia sengal and Vachelia senyal. And then we have insecticide and fish poison, which is created by Daris elliptica. And then we have indigo, which is created by Indigofera tinctoria. And indigo is a blue pigment, and it is what makes your jeans blue. And something really cool about indigo is that it is not water soluble. So when you wash your jeans, they don't lose their color because it's not water soluble. The pigment stays in your jeans.
All right, and now we'll finish up with some fun facts about some of the members of the pea family. Some species of Astragalus and Oxytropis are toxic to livestock. Okay, not such a fun fact, but interesting nonetheless. Many Astragalus species concentrate selenium in their tissues, making them selenophytes, and they then return it to the soil, and that selenium can be used by other nearby grasses and herbs. Sweet peas contain the toxic amino acid ODAP, which can cause permanent paralysis if consumed in excess. Another really fun fact, clearly. And then peanut plants do something really interesting called geocarpy. And if we've learned anything from Dr. Ogburn, it's about the importance of root words. So geo is earth, and carpy is carpel, or the spot that holds the ovary in the flower. After the flowers are pollinated, a peg elongates and pushes the developing ovary into the soil where it continues to develop into the legume, or what we recognize as the carnival peanuts. Um, I've looked into why this might be beneficial for the plants, and there's not a lot of literature on it yet. However, some people theorize that perhaps instead of prioritizing really distant and spread out seed dispersal, plants that do this are in areas where it can be really hard to find a spot in the ground where you'll be successful. And because the parent plant has found a successful spot, it just kind of wants to put the seeds in that same area where it knows that they'll be able to grow. Um, so yeah, just some fun facts there. And this has been the Pea Family. Thank you.